Welcome to THSADA Summer Sponsor Roundtable. Members of the THSADA who access this webinar are encouraged to share this link with their peers or the like on the various social media platforms they have access to. In addition, the link will be provided to these two valuable state sponsors so they can share it with their team. Without question, it's been a really trying time. You think back a few months ago in March, things were rocking and rolling the way they normally do, and all of a sudden, everything is shut down. So our sponsors, like our members and our association, have looked for ways to stay connected. And this is one of the ways that we've decided to do this, is to allow our sponsors to have a forum to be able to speak directly to our membership and talk about the things that they're able to do through these unusual times, what they struggle with, what they're doing well, and probably all we're looking forward to a time this fall we can get together and start gathering together and enjoying each other's face-to-face company. So we are joined by two of our very valuable state sponsors today. We have Amy Champion from Brock USA, and we have Chris Westerman and Chris Johnson from Daktronics. Both valuable members of our association and sponsors, have been with us for a long time. And we appreciate the fact that they have stayed with us through these difficult and challenging times. It's not an easy task to do, but we do appreciate that partnership that we have with you guys. Along with us today is Dave Stevenson. Dave's in charge of our marketing and our sponsorship efforts. I'm going to let Dave take over the meeting right now, and he can introduce the sponsors and give you guys some time to talk. Dave, go ahead.
Thanks, Bob. Texas is very valuable for all of our sponsors. As we started 2020, there's over $4.4 billion that were being bond elections that were coming up in May, with so many schools and so many communities just busting at the seams around the state. When the pandemic hit, we obviously only had 4 of those bond elections, so there's a bunch of planning, there's a bunch of hope that's still in store for the fall. And what we want to do with our key sponsors is put their brand out front, so whenever school does and whatever it looks like this fall, that whenever that time comes, these brands have a chance to share their story with our membership who are in the planning stages for what this fall might look like. So to start things off, we're going to have Chris Westerman and Chris Johnson from Daktronics speak. Daktronics recently released a new product related to streaming games. And can y'all tell us a little bit more about what that new product looks like?
Sure. So we had a lot of customers reaching out or starting to reach out. Everyone knows, like you said, Dave, that with the world we live in right now, there's a lot of thought out there that games will happen this fall, but they're not going to be the same as what we've known them to be. Whether that's reduced attendance, that's forced reduced attendance, or just folks choosing not to join the event at the game. They still want, but kids are still going to be out there playing, and at least we hope. And schools are looking for ways to get that big screen that they have in their facilities, get that same type of look out to their web stream. So we developed a product, named it Big Stream, joining those two, Big Screen and Live Stream, together. And that's the product we're going to talk about today.
Sorry about that. How will a school specifically benefit from adding Big Stream to their web stream?
Yeah, so today a lot of schools, when you see the web stream happen, you see a simple camera image out there. Maybe you get some type of score bug off, and you know, it is just that camera, and they'll pan over to the scoreboard to show clock and time. This will give the schools the ability to, not only are they going to get that live feed out to their stream, but also all the data from the Daktronics controllers, as well as advertising. You talked about bond issues a little bit, Dave, but you know, most of our facilities, or most of your facilities, you have advertisers that are spending money with your sports, and schools, and they want to get their advertising out in front of their patrons, and this will give the schools an opportunity to not only put that live stream out there in a scorebook, but you can also do advertising. You can do fan prompts, say for a touchdown, or if you put a simple switcher in front of your live stream, you can now record replays and really entertain those fans that are at home, not just the fans that are in the venue.
Yeah. So we know the strength of Daktronics. There's also strength with your Daktronics sports marketing that comes in as the marketing arm for schools. So you have a lot of ways to come in and be an asset for schools, big and large. What's your timetable look like that if an athletic director sees what the fall looks like, how does that, from the time they reach out to you, what are some key things that have to happen before they're all set to go to be able to web stream through BigStream?
Yeah, so it would, really works with schools that have a video display today or schools that just have fixed digit scoreboards. So we encourage anyone looking for BigStream, reach out to your regional salesperson or your local salesperson. They'll deliver a quote. At that point, signed quote back to Daktronics, and order would get entered and we'd deliver. We say often 6 to 8 weeks is our standard lead time. Something like this, we know timing-wise is going to be very important, and we will do everything we can to get that in the venue set up for their first event. Many schools are already streaming, like we talked about, at some level. So they've got a streaming service, a streaming device. We're really going to deliver that feed to them. So I think it'll go off without a hitch. Very little training. It's simple plug and play. Facilities that already have show control and video displays today, they don't add an operator at all. Maybe a camera operator if you wanted a different shot going out to the stream, but that same video display operator is going to run the stream. If you do have a fixed digit scoreboard only, then you'd be looking at a camera operator. It can be as simple as click a button on our system to put a look going out to that stream, never touch that again, just let it happen. That could be live video in a portion of the screen, scorebug in another, overlaying on top of that. Could be a rotation of advertisers on a right sidebar. But it could be real simple, no operators other than your camera operator. If you really want to interact and you want to entertain those fans, then you'd see an operator at that show control computer.
Chris Johnson, what else would you like to add about BigStream? I know both of you work hand in hand on that segment of Daktronics business.
Yeah, I mean, Westerman really hit a lot of the bases there, but there was a lot of good things said. But I think for me, it's just right now, what is a video board to consumers? And if it is, in venue, obviously we're very happy to help out with that. But this is a different era right now, and so viewing the video board at home, it could be different from what you see, at the stadium, but it could be the exact same. And so we're here to provide people with different solutions, just like we do with high schools with their video board production. It could be a ton of different dreams that you have for what your stream could be. And I think our technology is there to help solve a bunch of those different issues. So yeah, but very excited about this.
Well, we thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate Daktronics and appreciate Chris and Chris. Thank you for coming on. Amy Champion is with us from Brock USA. Amy, we know Brock USA, how long they've been around. You're the nation's leader for over 20 years in shock pads around the country. So our membership, athletic directors looking to, put in an AstroTurf field, an artificial turf field, should I say. Why are shock pads now considered such an important addition when they're looking to add that turf field? And why are you alongside somebody in the turf industry? You're almost synonymous in that space.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting that school districts right now are functioning the way that they are, and their kids are able to actually train and work out still on the fields, and go through this pandemic and go through all of the things they're having to go through. And for us, you know, we're fortunate, Dave. We have been in the shock pad business, as you mentioned, for a long time. And ironically, since this pandemic started, our business has skyrocketed. And I think school districts are really, to answer your question, school districts are really taking a close and hard look at field safety. You know, the safety portion of these fields have become a big conversation. From the NFL, you know, the concussion conversation and the concerns there, all the way down to municipalities and playgrounds. Making these facilities and these surfaces safer has been a big conversation as of late. So when you talk about shock pads being around and we've been in existence, this conversation has continued to grow. But in the last year or two, we have really seen the importance of field safety come to the forefront. So when you talk about different organizations that are using these shock pads, we really want to hone in now on your school districts. The Texas High School Athletic Directors Association, they take a very good stance on field safety. You know, I think one of the policies or legislation that they passed last fall, they had to now turn in their concussion and injury rates every year, which we applauded them for. We think that's a very good standard to live by. So now, since that's been implemented within your schools, all of a sudden now, like I said, field safety has become a huge conversation. So for us, being in the shock pad business and providing that safety layer for artificial turf fields, it's more of a conversation now of, well, let's just get a turf field. Well, now the conversation's going, let's build a safe turf field. You know, what's out there? What's the latest technology? Who do we need to talk to? And Brock has been a big partner with the state of Texas. And this year alone, we've done numerous school districts already, with a number of them still on the books to complete. So it's been great. But this conversation really has grown in the last year or so, because I think owners and administrators are becoming a lot more aware of field safety. And when you look at turf fields, we are considered the field safety guys.
That's terrific. Well, Amy, when I think of talking about shock pads and talking about concussions and talking about that safety, there's another component as far as safety, and it relates to Texas probably more than any other state in the United States, and that comes down to temperature. So when I think of your business, I also think of your organic infill that can substantially reduce the temperature of a playing field, and whether it's in practice or whether it's in competition, that ability to lower the temperature on the field with an infill. Talk a little bit about how that is also changing in the game.
Yeah, so we started this journey about 4 or 5 years, and our whole conversation kind of came about because crumb rubber is your typical material you see in synthetic turf fields. And we all know that material is so hot. So we kind of started the conversation years ago, got into a biomechanics lab at the University of Tennessee, started doing some homework and research, and we developed a product from a loblolly pine tree. This is a wood product, and it's called Brockfill. This material goes through an 8-step process to where we cut the tree down, we slice it, we chop it into tiny bits, we refine the edges, we cook it to where it kills all the resins and the food particles in the core, which allows water absorption. So when you remove all of those types of things out of the core of the wood, it absorbs water very fast, has a very slow release, therefore it keeps the moisture in the field, reducing that temperature anywhere from 35 to 40 degrees. This summer, we've had a lot of fun with this material, Dave, because we actually launched this last May. We put 65 fields on the ground from coast to coast, 20 of those in the state of Texas. This year alone for 2020, we're going to do about 45 Brockfill fields in the state of Texas, and they range from football to soccer. But what's been fun is going around testing these fields in 90-degree temperature days, walking across the street and testing a rubber field, same temperature. So we're doing heat gun tests at Ennis ISD just last week. Temperature was 92 degrees. The artificial turf field tested at 120 with Brock fill. They have a practice field just behind their stadium with rubber. We went over and tested it at the same time frame. Within about 15 to 20 minutes, it was 168. So this material is just, it's incredible. I mean, it literally keeps the field a little moist. It keeps it cool. You know, typical days in August in the state of Texas, kids can't get on these rubber fields. It's too hot. But last summer we had fun with it. This summer we're having fun with it. We've watched kids go out and train now that they've been able to do that. And a lot of them run around barefooted on the turf, and it's 92 degrees outside. So this material has been a game changer. We have had numerous turf companies all across the state of Texas and across the country that have installed it, and we've gotten great feedback. Outside of the heat reduction for this material is the footing. You know, for us, being a shock pad company and these science geeks, they call us, we do a lot of research on our shock pads with every turf system in the market. So you mentioned AstroTurf, there's Field Turf, there's Hellas, there's Shaw, there's all these turf providers. Well, we've tested our shock pads and this Brock fill in all those turf systems. So all these guys are able to use this new organic, all natural infill. We're very proud of it. And it's the best part about it, Dave, it's most economical. It's the same cost as any other rubber sand infill on the market. So it's very feasible for these school districts to use.
That's terrific, and that's great news we're sharing. Bob?
Yeah.
This has been incredibly valuable for me, and I know for our members too. And no pun intended here, Amy, but your two companies definitely are champions in the industry that you work in. So you chose the correct last name. But both companies, I've been listening to you talk for years and years, and it's really meaningful to me to watch your companies evolve and provide products that are what our ADs and our coaches need at certain times. You're a much different company today, both of you are, than what you were 10 or 15 years ago, because you've been willing to evolve. So hats off to both Daktronics and Brock Sports USA. Amy and Chris, thank you so much for being here today. THSADA members, we're going to post this on all of our social media outlets, and they'll be available to you probably beginning of next week. And we'll also share it with the two companies. That way you can use it with your team too. But thank you all so much. I'm going to share your. Now we should be able to see it. So there's our page with our sponsors, and then our contact information. You can see Brock, Amy Champion, and Daktronics, Chris Westerman, and Chris Johnson. So THSADA members, feel free to reach out to these folks and get a little bit of help regarding the video concept that Chris talked about, and the infill and the turf things that Amy talked about today. So again, thank you all for attending today, and I'm going to go ahead and close